You probably spent, more than a decade of your life in school. But have you ever really stopped to ask why you learned the things you did? Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on the hidden rules of education, the forces that decided what knowledge mattered, and in doing so, kind of shaped your entire world.
We all know the lineup, right? Math, science, history, English, they feel permanent, like these universal, fundamental blocks of knowledge, the stuff everyone just has to know. The whole thing seems so natural, so obvious. But here's the twist. That list of subjects wasn't a given. It was chosen. And the story of who gets to choose, well, it reveals a surprising amount about power, about money, and about what our society really values. So let's start with what we call the official curriculum. It's so easy to think of it as just a list of facts and figures, but it's really a deliberate choice. It's the story that one generation decides to tell the next about what's important.
And this is the core idea right here. The sociologist Max Weber pointed this out way back in 1922. Knowledge isn't just out there waiting for us. It's socially constructed. Every single society makes choices about what knowledge matters, what gets taught, and what it's all for.
Okay, so if what we learn is a choice, the next logical question is, who gets to choose? And the answer starts to pull back the curtain on this deep connection between the economy, power, and a society's core values. There's this one really powerful theory that calls schools an ideological state apparatus. I know, it's a mouthful, but the idea behind it is pretty simple. Education serves the economy. It doesn't just teach you skills, it teaches you the right attitudes for the workplace, like being on time, following rules, accepting a hierarchy, basically preparing you to be a good, compliant worker. Sociologist Michael Young saw this as a four-step process of control. So first, knowledge is selected. Some stuff gets in, other stuff gets left out. Then it's categorized into these neat little boxes called subjects, which makes us think that, art has nothing to do with physics. Then it's presented by gatekeepers like teachers, and finally it's validated with exams, turning what you know into a formal credential. The whole process makes knowledge seem objective and tidy, when really it's being carefully managed.
And the result of all this control? A really clear hierarchy of knowledge. I mean, think about it. Academic subjects are almost always seen as more prestigious than practical, hands-on skills. This is not an accident. It's a direct reflection of the values of the people who designed the system in the first place.
Now, this process of selecting what's worthy knowledge, it doesn't just create a hierarchy. It also builds in some pretty powerful biases, especially around ethnicity and gender. A key one is what's called the ethnocentric curriculum. This is where the history, the literature, and the values of the dominant ethnic group are taught as the default, as the norm. Meanwhile, minority perspectives are either just ignored or pushed to the margins. For students from those backgrounds, school can feel like a place that doesn't see them or reflect our culture at all. And gender bias, it is deeply baked in. Just look at these common subject choices. Girls often get nudged toward arts and humanities. Boys get pushed toward physics and business. And look, these aren't just innocent preferences. They're shaped by these powerful messages from society that end up channeling them into different and often unequally paid careers. And these messages are just everywhere. They're in the textbooks, where boys are shown in more active roles. They're in the expectations of teachers, in work experience placements that shuttle kids into traditional jobs, and even in the status of subjects themselves, where male-dominated fields are often seen as more important. But here's the thing. What's actually on the syllabus? That's only half the story. Some of the biggest lessons we learn at school are never explicitly taught. This is what we call the hidden curriculum.
So yeah, the hidden curriculum, it's all the unwritten rules you pick up just by being there. It's less about learning geometry and more about learning how to wait your turn, how to follow rules you don't agree with, and just how to fit in. It's the how of school, not just the what.
So what are these lessons? Well, the hidden curriculum teaches us to be on time, to obey authority, to compete with our friends for grades, and to see learning as this individual race. Basically, it trains us to accept the hierarchies and rules of the wider world long before we ever get there.
All right, now for the final and maybe the most subtle layer of all of this, the invisible advantage that some students bring with them from home. It's an advantage called cultural capital.
The term was coined by sociologist Pierre Bourdieu. And cultural capital isn't about money. It's about all the other stuff, the knowledge, the attitudes, the way you speak, the cultural experiences that are valued by the school system. It's the kind of stuff that middle and upper class families often have without even thinking about it. And this creates a totally different experience of school.
For middle-class kids, school often feels like a natural habitat. The language, the expectations, the values, it all lines up with what they know from home. But for working-class kids, it can feel like being dropped into a foreign country, creating a kind of culture clash from the very first day.
And you can see this in really concrete ways. These parents know how to play the system. The way they talk at home matches the formal language used in the classroom. The museums they visit on weekends provide experiences that the curriculum literally rewards. It's a built-in head start.
And this is the really powerful takeaway here. The whole concept of cultural capital fundamentally challenges that story we tell ourselves, the one where school is a level playing field, where success is purely about talent and hard work. It suggests the game is tilted from the start in favor of those who already know the rules.
So, the next time you think about your school days, maybe it's worth asking. Your education definitely shaped who you are today. But what were the hidden forces that shaped your education?